Welcome to the Lead It Culture podcast, where every episode is about learning how to grow and thrive in today's culture, rather than letting the culture define who we are. Here are your hosts, Kenny Mason and Edgar Ruiz.
Hey guys, how's it going? We are here for another episode at Lead at Culture. My name is Kenny, and this is Edgar.
What's up?
We are back at it. Edgar, how you feeling today, man?
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling good, yeah. Been a good day.
Yeah, that's what's up.
That's
what's up. So we are here to talk about racial reconciliation, basically, and diversity. So how to embrace diversity.
Yeah, it's a big topic, I think, always, but definitely like getting bigger and bigger, especially in the last 3 years or so.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I think since George Floyd.
That definitely like spiked it.
Oh yeah. And it shouldn't have had to. It shouldn't have had to. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Like come to that point.
In order for us to take it more serious, but here we are. And while it's kind of still hot, maybe not hot, warm, let's take that and figure out what can we do to be a part of that. Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing is, I don't even know. This topic is huge, man. I think the biggest thing, because I'm black, obviously. And I think the biggest thing that happened around that time, with George Floyd and, everything that was going on with black people, white people, everything. And I'm never really scared or fearful of, anything that I see on the news or anything like that. That kind of shook me. Yeah. Because I was like, oh my God, So, and in other instances, not even that. I think another recent thing, I can't even think of his name. They showed the body camera from that, and they pretty much beat him. Yeah. And, he went in the hospital. He died, and I'm not gonna say anything about it on my opinion about that, but
for sure.
I think that me being black, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is kind of crazy. And then it makes you look at your kids and look at think about who you're around in your workplace. So anyway, I think the biggest thing that we got to focus on today in today's world is, how can I embrace the person that's next to me that does not look like me? Yeah. Like, what do I need to do, like, to get to know my white brother and sister, my, Hispanic brothers and sisters, my Asian brothers and sisters, my African brothers and sisters, just any other race, Middle Eastern brothers and sisters, every other race that I'm not even saying right now, forgive me. But, like, I think, what do you think, like, how was it for you growing up, or like, did you experience any problems with, people kind of being, racist towards you or your family or people you knew, or? Yeah.
Well, childhood wise, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so it's just all of us.
Right.
And Puerto Rican people are very diverse in how they look. My mom is very pale skin. Like, she's very white skin. And so is my dad. My dad's a little tanner. Okay. But we also have, my mom's sister is, dark. And my grandfather was very dark. Yeah. And so we have very different skin tones, different, looks. Yeah. So I grew up in, we're all Puerto Rican, but we all look very different. So I moved to the States. I was 12 years old. It wasn't that different to see different skin tones, different skin color, different people. It was just, okay, we're just from different places. Yeah. And so I didn't really have a problem as far as race goes when I grew up. I didn't grow up, I grew up kind of middle class. And I think my parents really put a seed in me of just be careful everywhere you go. Right. My parents definitely came here with the presumption of, look, we're minorities, so we got to be careful. Yeah, we got to be on edge, and even to this day they do some things that I'm like, it's not like that. Like it's not always like that. Yeah. But I grew up on edge, even though I never really went through anything that would have put me on edge.
Right.
It was more on edge because I was just told to always be careful.
Yeah.
Grew up in Fairfax, Virginia. Pretty diverse area.
Oh, yeah.
So
Virginia,
around all sorts of people. And so I was always just around it.
Right.
And I don't want to say I ever struggled with that. I never really felt like I did. I always felt included, felt a part of the melting pot, if that makes sense. But what about you? You grew up in Hampton area?
I did. Yep, I'm from Hampton. I went to school. My school was predominantly black. Had a sprinkle of white people, and that was it. Yeah. So everything was, high school, middle school, everything was, predominantly black. I went to a HBCU, historically black collegiate university. That was predominantly black. It wasn't until I started working at the bank until I started to be around more, white people. And so I had to be, I pretty much had to be confident in who I was, so that I wouldn't try to be somebody else, or try to. Because I think black people, when they are, especially in a setting like a bank.
Like a professional setting.
Because I'm more relaxed, but when I get around people that I feel like they're more well off than me, I can kind of change up my vocabulary, try to maybe change the way I look, but I need to be confident and comfortable, in who I am. But at the same time, not be foolish.
Not unprofessional.
Still be professional, but just be you. Don't try to be anybody else.
Exactly.
But I think that was the one time that I, was not around a lot of black people, but it taught me a lot because, and I think that we need to be we have to be in places of the opposite race so that we can understand how to embrace that culture.
Yeah.
Because if we're not, then, we can kind of get into a place of being comfortable around my people.
Yeah.
Like I always want to be around black people because they make me feel good. They make me feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
But when I'm around white people or Hispanics or Asians or Middle Eastern, whatever, I don't know what to do and I don't know how to act. So what am I going to do now? The one thing I'm going to do is ask questions, if I don't understand that culture. Because I think it all comes down to we don't understand each other's culture.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of assumptions about Hispanics or Puerto Ricans. There's a lot of assumptions about black people that if you say that to a black person and it's the wrong assumption, you might get jumped. I don't know. You might get swung on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and that goes both ways.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. For any other race, I mean, you can't. Some stuff you just can't say. So what are we supposed to do? We got to learn each other's cultures. You got to ask questions. If you're a student or college student or just young adult watching this, and you're in school, this is for you. I think Edgar and I want to make sure that, definitely we're speaking to that truth. And, there's other races at your school. There's other races in your college. There's other races in your workplace as a young adult that you can't always want to be around your people, that look like you. Branch out and embrace that culture. So I think that's the biggest thing that, we have to do as a people. So have you ever felt uncomfortable around any other race?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And even I don't want to say to this day, because it's definitely a lot less.
Right, yeah.
But if I'm the only one in the room, and I tend not to think about it, and I don't tend really even to notice it until it kind of clicks. I'll look around and I'm like, oh, I'm the only Hispanic in the room. Wow.
But how is that though? Because a lot of people always paint it to be black, white, black, white, black, white. So we got to have a good ratio of black. We got to have a good ratio of white, and Hispanic. Do you feel like it's kind of like that, or?
I honestly don't focus too much on it. And I think it's because growing up, I wasn't affected by the lack thereof. I think when my senior year in high school, I moved to a completely different high school. First high school I went to was it was like probably like 40% white. You had 30% black, 20%, 30% everything else. Where it was like 15 Hispanic, 15 Middle Eastern, Asian, whatever. Predominantly white and black, but with a bunch of everything else, like lumped in. Whereas my second high school, it was like 95% white, and then everything else was that 5%.
Yeah.
And so there, I definitely noticed it's just me and there's a black guy over there, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I never felt like I was treated differently.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Okay.
But it's only like a lot of times I notice it, and I don't know that I change. I can relate to you at the bank, changing how you talked, changing how you kind of compose yourself.
Use bigger vocabulary words. You using SAT words up in the bank.
Exactly.
You ain't gonna use other words.
Absolutely.
So you're gonna change up your vocabulary.
Yeah, because you want to seem like well poised and you know what you're talking about. Where if it's someone who,
even if you don't,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what I'm talking about at all, but I gotta make this,
Right. I don't even want to know if it's a race thing, but I think it's also how they're dressed. If I see a guy coming in a suit, like the belt matches the shoes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Whether black, white, Hispanic, you are well off most likely.
Right,
it looks like it, so I want to act a certain way.
Yeah.
Whereas if I see same thing, black, white, Hispanic, if I see you coming from the gym and I can relate to you, growing up playing sports, I'm gonna be a little more laid back, a little more comfortable in that scenario.
Yeah.
And I think that's also an important thing in bridging that gap, where I think we tend to focus so much on the race issue, which is there completely. I'm not taking that away, but I think we tend to focus so much on the race issue that we don't focus on that. There are people everywhere in all kinds of scenarios. If that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that when you do focus on race, you're not focused on people's heart, their mind, and who they are on the inside. And this is not at all saying, right, like. Because I heard people say, color doesn't matter to me. When I look at people, I don't see color. I see, and I'm like, don't say that.
Yeah,
don't say that, because I understand, from like other perspectives, but at the same time, I am black. Yeah. And that's the truth about it. I grew up black. There's things that I've seen. There's things that I saw.
That's denying your whole culture, your background.
Yeah, you can't erase that culture. It's a beautiful culture. Yeah. The Hispanic culture is a beautiful culture. Every culture has its beautiful just things. Like, we are all one because of who we are individually, not because we erased who we were and said, forget my identity. I want to be this. It's like, I am who I am because of who I was created to be. But at the same time, I'm going to bring this to the table because this is what we need to be able to be united. That's right. So, I can't look at you and say, I don't see color. It's like
we are all transparent. We got no color.
Right. No. We're just all invisible. But so I said all that to say that's one side of it. The other side of it is that what's inside does matter.
Yeah, for sure.
In your heart, inside of your heart. Like, I could, because there's white people. I grew up with white people that act black. Yeah. And they were cool. It was sometimes it was a little too much. I'm like, all right, bro, chill out. You good, chill. But then there's people that just understood. Yeah. And that's a hard thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody that's white, somebody that's black trying to understand. I don't want to always say always trying to understand black people, because I feel like, a lot of people always try to say, I need to understand black people. And I think that's true. Yeah. But I think black people also have to, make sure that we are giving our, putting our time in and understanding other cultures as well. Yeah. And not saying people need to understand us, we got to understand other cultures as well, because the world is not just black and white. This is a beautiful, there's other beautiful cultures out there, but I just truly think that, what's in the heart matters. And when you give time to try to understand, other cultures and other races, that just makes you more it brings understanding. You can understand now because you gave the time to ask questions, get to know.
Yeah, exactly.
And not assume, because we all see stuff on TV, radio, we hear it all about that culture, so.
Yeah, and not only that, it also, when you're talking to somebody and they know that you have taken the time to embrace their culture, they're going to be open to embracing yours.
Right.
You're already opening up the conversation a lot more. Mm-hmm. It's like that question of, let's say you're a Christian, but you've never taken time to think about the other. What do they believe and why do they believe it?
Right. Yeah.
If you take the time to see that, you can find the point where, okay, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And in the same way, they see that and they say, okay, they took the time to hear me out. Let me take the time to hear them out.
Right.
The same thing with race.
Yeah.
If let's say if as a Hispanic, I don't take the time to hear the concerns of a black man, then you're not going to take the time to hear my concerns, hear my voice.
Exactly.
And it's just going to be a constant fight. Yeah.
And I think also that the conversation can be as awkward as you make it. Mm-hmm. Your interactions are as awkward as you make it.
Yeah.
Your encounters, everything is as awkward as you make it. Yeah. If you are, any other culture, if you are white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, and and you just never talk about it, and you're good friends, with that person. Yeah. I would challenge you to ask questions about your friend's culture and how they grew up, because that brings true diversity. Not just saying that. You can't just have a black friend, Asian, white, whatever, friend and think you're killing the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I got a black friend. Yes, I got a Hispanic friend. Yes, I got I have white friends, Like, you got to give time. That's not diversity, at your workplace, if you just get somebody that's, another race on your team, you're not embracing diversity. You're embracing diversity when you appreciate that culture, when you celebrate that culture, when you celebrate where they're from. If you have a friend that is any other race, celebrate and embrace and honor and acknowledge their culture. That's embracing diversity, not just having them in your corner. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. There was something you said about like we make it awkward.
Yeah,
we're the ones who we make every conversation awkward if we want to, or if we
right,
and we put ourselves in that situation. There was one time I got pulled over.
Oh snap! Are you speeding?
It was like yes, I was probably.
Was it reckless?
Yes, it was reckless.
Oh my gosh!
I think I was going like. Actually, no, this time it wasn't reckless. All the other times were reckless. This time it wasn't. I think I was going 78, and I was reckless. It was like 78 on the 55.
Woo!
It was reckless. Never mind.
Where were you going, dude?
I was coming down from 95, and I was going from Richmond back up to Fairfax. I was still living in Fairfax.
Yeah.
And I think I was 22 at the time.
78 is not bad, though.
Yeah, so I was coming out.
Were you going with the flow of traffic?
Yes.
Okay.
And so
they weren't wrong. You got to flow with traffic.
The speed limit on 95 is 70. So I was going 77, 78. I get off on an exit to go towards my house, and it's not a highway like 95. It's not an interstate, but it's still kind of like a main road. And but the limit was 55. And for whatever reason, it didn't register in my head that I was on a completely different road. So I just kept going the same speed I was going.
Okay.
And so I get pulled over. And I'm in an area that is like white.
Yeah.
Like it is all white.
Yeah.
And I get pulled over. I see from the rearview mirror, it's a younger white cop. And I'm sitting in my seat and I'm like, oh, Lord. Keep me safe, because I'm like genuinely getting nervous because of everything I've heard.
Yeah.
Mind you, I've gotten transparency. I had gotten pulled over like 3 or 4 times before this.
Yeah.
Also for speeding.
We're not judging you, bro. We're not judging you. Do not judge Edgar. You out there, you got pulled over.
I don't want to see no comments.
No comments on how he drives. He's a great driver. You got a fast car too, dude.
I do, and so I had the car when the car was like brand new when I got pulled over.
You was testing it out.
Yeah, a little bit. and so I get pulled over. It's a younger white cop, probably in his like low 30s. That's what he looked like. He's late 20s, low 30s. And all the other times I got pulled over, they were older cops. And I had gotten pulled over by an older Hispanic, an older white cop, and an older black cop. And all treated me very well. But I think, too, because he was white and because he was young, it already put that fear in me.
Right.
And I started getting a little nervous and came up. So I did everything in the car. I'm like, I turned lights on, like make sure that like all my hands are 10 and 2, like nothing.
Yeah.
And he came over, he just lowered the window, treated me very nicely, he was very polite, and he actually let me go without even giving me a ticket.
Wow, yeah.
But that's what, it made me think of that, because you said I put myself, we can put ourselves in an awkward situation. I put myself in a feared situation, very nervous.
Yeah.
And for no reason.
Yeah.
He did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't do, besides just speeding, I knew I didn't have anything to hide.
Yeah.
So I was completely honest.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another thing. How would it have been if I just reacted a little more normally?
Yeah.
Too.
And at the same time, you were preparing yourself.
Yes.
Because you have to be prepared when you do get pulled over, because you don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
So I think it is good that you prepared yourself, but at the same time, it was the nervousness, the fear.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh my gosh, So that right there is,
and not to say it could have never happened either.
Right.
Because for all I knew, something bad could have happened.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
that's why, it is good to always prepare yourself. If it's at night, because it was at night, it was like at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So, which I pulled up into like a sketchy parking lot because there was no space on the road. I pulled up into a sketchy parking lot. He pulled up right behind me, so I was like, I got to turn all the lights on. I got to make sure that there's nothing that can hide anything.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Make sure I can't like hide anything, or he knows that I'm not hiding anything.
Right.
And so I think that can be done without being nervous.
Right. Yeah.
And that can also be picked up on the officers' end, where if they see that you're nervous, it's gonna prompt them to be nervous. Like, oh, this person has something to be nervous about. They're a little shaky.
Right.
Where you could just be scared because of things that you have heard, which is valid. I'm not saying it's not. But trying to keep your composure, you know that there's nothing there to hide, so don't act like you're trying to hide something.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I felt. I felt like I was going to get caught for like I didn't do anything. And in the same way, also, I feel like I acted respectfully, so he acted respectfully back.
Right. Yeah.
And
you get what you give,
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, this was a good episode. We gotta do a part 2 or something.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely, for sure.
Yeah,
It's definitely
so much
unending.
meat. Yeah, I know. This is such a great topic.
Yeah,
because it's a great need in our culture.
Nothing
today.
an active topic. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we can wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode. We will be doing a part 2 at some point.
Yes,
of this, and continuing the conversation, because it's an important conversation to have and to keep having, especially for you guys if you're in school, in college, and parents, so you're aware of what your kid is going through each and every day.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, like the video if you're on YouTube, like us on Spotify and Apple Music. Make sure you follow us.
Go like it.
If you are back on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future content from our page.
Subscribe.
Thank y'all. We will see y'all on the next one.
See ya.
See ya.